Well, as you can tell, the pedal has hit the metal. We're approaching the final little bit of the class. I have here a couple of notes that I'd like to make, and that'll keep me from saying so many ums. I really think it's important to have good notes while you give these speeches. I think it's really important to have good speaking aids while you give them. That's what the PowerPoint's all about. So think about this. PowerPoint is an outline tool. It's meant to be very, very simple. So as you're doing your reviews, please look at the other PowerPoints and say to yourself, is this too complex? What if I were the viewer here? What would I actually be getting out of this? Would I be getting too much information by looking at the PowerPoint? The PowerPoint does not substitute for your speech. As you're doing your speech, you're referring to the PowerPoint. Good PowerPoint, I still believe in bullet points. Some people are kind of moving away from bullet points. It's an outline tool. It's only meant to outline specific elements of your speech. That's all it's for. It's good when it has some graphic images. They could be graphs, they could be charts, they could be random photographs to sort of help illustrate your point, to give the listener something to look at while they're listening to you. It kind of helps to take the pressure off of you if sometimes the viewers of your speech, the people in the audience, are not looking directly at you, but are rather looking at your PowerPoint. But if it's too busy, if it's too complex, they're going to get nauseous. And I want to tell you a story real quick. I went to an annual meeting not too long ago of a historical society, and the historical society is brilliant historical society. And the fellow that got up to give his talk about the background of the year for the annual meeting, how all the good things historical society did, he had all these elaborate PowerPoint slides that had all these terrible transitional elements. I just hate Microsoft. Okay, they're really overkill. Terrible. Their templates and their transitions, their elements are just awful. Okay, so be very cautious. So what he was doing is every time there's a photograph on the screen, it got pixelated and it blurred in and it blurred out, and the whole audience was just turning green. All right, just couldn't stand it. Right, it was a really terrible presentation. And the guy was in the graphic design business. So afterwards, I went up and very kind of nonchalantly said I really enjoyed his presentation, but would he like any tips about his PowerPoint? He kind of looked at me funny and said, well, yeah, sure. I said, well, it's really hard on the audience. We were sitting back there, and we were really kind of felt like we were on an ocean liner in the ocean rocking back and forth, and all those special effects you're doing, the photographs are really hard on the viewer. And he got really huffy and said, oh, I've given lots of PowerPoints, and nobody's ever said that before. I said, well, I teach it. I've taught this for 15 years and I've seen a lot of PowerPoints, and I talk about these kinds of issues, and I researched them. I don't just make this stuff up, And he was pretty offended. So I said, oh, well, I lost that guy as a friend. Well, a year later, I didn't go to the annual meeting this time, but he posted his PowerPoint to Facebook, and guess what? It had none of those transitional elements in it. So what I'm asking you to do, and I'm referring to my notes here again, is as you're reviewing your peers' PowerPoint, look for simplicity. Look for consistency. As the slides move from one to the other, the viewer doesn't want to have to be jerking their eyes around to look for the slide title or to know where to look for certain things. You need some consistency. This is not meant to be an artistic project or a creative project. It could look nice, okay? It can look elegant. It can look pretty. Now you can make it artistic, but be consistent. Don't harm the viewer. That's absolutely the bottom line, okay? And then, once again, the goal of the PowerPoint is to sort of outline your speech, present the high points, okay, and then as the viewer is listening to you, watching the PowerPoint, they're sort of having a place to focus, so the focus isn't always on you. And you can also use this same PowerPoint as your notes. You can turn to it, while you're talking, and say, now, back here you can see on this particular slide that such and such is going on, and here are the main points I want to talk about, that kind of thing, okay? So that's why I call it a speaking aid. I think it really does help, even in a small group setting, okay? And when I teach face-to-face, and I do that also, okay, I always have PowerPoints. Right? Sometimes they're very simple, they're not very artistic, but they give the viewer, the listener, the person listening, people listening to my lectures, there's usually about 24 students in the classes, okay? And while they're listening to my lectures, they have something to focus on. It kind of serves as their notes, all right? They don't have to take elaborate notes. They can just do a few highlights or a few questions for themselves. So bottom line, let me summarize. In your reviews, be helpful, please, all right? Be critical, all right? You don't have to be rude. And some people I know take critical comments as being rude. One way you can get over this in peer review is start off with the good stuff. Say, hey, here's what I really liked about your PowerPoint. Okay, and list 3 points that you really liked about it. Okay, and then say, here's some things I think you could do better. Don't say, here's some bad things. Say, here's some things I could think you do better. And then get real specific. Slide 4, slide 5, that kind of thing. Okay, so I hope this is a little bit helpful, and I hope you all take this in a good spirit. And don't forget, the bottom line is reaching your own speech right at the end of the class. And you're certainly welcome to use this PowerPoint in your speech. You can have it on the wall behind you, or you can refer to it while you're talking. If you're doing it on a laptop like this, you could have it right there in front of you and be using it as your notes. Okay, so hey, enjoy. If you have any questions or if you have any problems with peer review groups, please get a hold of me. Thank you.